Hi there, this is Manny with Classic Auto Repair. Finishing up the inspection report on the 67 Camaro top side. The other video covers everything on the bottom of the car. So I'm just going to go over the results of the inspection and road tests that I conducted. Just kind of running down the list that you'll receive. Tested the headlight system and circuit. High beams, low beams are okay. Have the electrical system on a battery charger. The battery seems to be okay, but I do have a slow cranking starter. So I do have the starter as a replaced or a repair that I would like to perform while it's here, just to prevent a failure. It just doesn't seem to be cranking as good as it should. Let me know if that's approved. Going down the list, brake lights tested okay, park lights, license plate light, dash lights, turn indicators, wipers. Let me check that horn out real quick because I didn't get a chance to test it this morning. Got the good horn. All right, so running down, horn is okay. Seat belt's good. As I mentioned on the tire wear, the right rear tire's getting pretty low. I recommend putting some tires on the back of the car. Air pressure low, which is normal during cold times of the year. So air is added to the tires. Belts are cracked and showing wear, so I have recommended replacing the belts. Down here, the power steering belt, air conditioning. Put a new alternator belt on it as well. Hoses are in good shape, in good condition. I don't see any signs of leaking here. Heater hoses all look good. No issues there as well. They're holding up just fine. Brake fluid, okay. Antifreeze is okay. The strength of the antifreeze is good, but and I've inspected the rows inside. That's the passages that go from one side of the radiator to the other. They have a little bit of corrosion, but it's not significant enough to prevent flow of the antifreeze. So I think you got about 80% life in the radiator, which is inspected right here. So if you run down the list to cooling system, inspect radiator condition, 3-row, 80% flow past test. Coolant strength 95%. The failure was the radiator cap. It holds no pressure. And so my recommendation is we're going to put a new radiator cap on that. And then also it needs a recovery tank, which I mentioned in the other video. With no pressure being held by the cap, the coolant just escapes out this hose and goes down onto the ground. In my system, I'm going to run this hose to a tank that will be installed right here, and that tank will have antifreeze in it, as well as capture anything that is expelled from the system. If the radiator cap has to relieve pressure, instead of dumping it on the ground, it comes to the tank, keeps it in there, and at night when the system cools down, it sucks through vacuum the antifreeze back into the radiator. It's all new cars have a recapture system. If you buy a new car, that's the way they're designed. They just didn't have the technology back in the 60s for that. So that is a definite good upgrade. It'll keep your cooling system working at 100% efficiency. So that's addressed down there as a repair for approval. Running down the other fluids, power steering, washers, transit fluid. We're going to put a new PCV valve on it during the oil change. Spark plugs are fouled. We're going to replace the spark plugs. Air filter is dirty, needs replacement. Fuel filter, as we mentioned on the other video, will get replaced. Battery's okay, but I am charging it. Battery brake pad wear is good. So what this says is diagnostic fees apply to the 100% towards repairs if approved. So you'll be receiving this, and I'll have diagnostic time listed if I don't know what the repair is. For example, this pulley right here is bent. What I don't know and normally is the case, is the wobble creates a problem for the water pump, which is right behind it. The shaft is right here, and it's got a seal on it. Depending on how long this has been damaged, will cause wear on the shaft, so then the water pump has to be replaced. I don't know the condition of the shaft until I remove this, put a new pulley on it, and spin it to see how straight the new pulley is on the shaft. If I see any wobble, or if I see any signs of leaking from the seal, I'll recommend replacing the water pump in addition to the pulley. So that's called diagnostic time. It gives me enough time to replace this and see what the condition of the pump is. There may be additional costs, obviously, if I have to put the water pump on there for parts and labor. And that would be listed right here under, let's see, right here under diagnostics, mechanical fan wobble. Needs pulley replacement and possible water pump if shaft seal or shaft is compromised. A revised estimate will be provided with additional cost for the water pump replacement if necessary. So that's what that's telling you. So the diagnostic time to do the pulley is 1.2 hours at $270. Diagnostic mechanical, okay, so that's that. Let's see, so going down the list, tune-up. So that's on my list. The tune-up will include gapping the spark plugs, replacing them, checking wires for any shorting or wear issues, replacing the PCV, fuel filter, air filter, and I'll check the fuel condition and add fuel treatment to the tank. These cars, as they sit, they get a lot of contaminants in the tank, so I want to run some treatment in there to keep it clean. Replace the cap, ignition, parts on your electrical ignition system for the motor, rotors, all that stuff gets worn and compromises the strength of the spark at your engine. So we're going to make sure all that is replaced and up to 100%. I will be adjusting the carburetor. It's a little dirty and I don't see any fuel leaking out of it, so that's a good thing, but I will be cleaning it and lubricating the linkage. When I first drove it, the idle was significantly high, up around 2,000 RPM, and that was because this linkage was adjusted incorrectly. I removed it when I was on the road test and adjusted. Up here is a screw that adjusts the length of this throttle, and I put it back to where it needs to be, and I'll be replacing this spring with the right tension so that your foot doesn't get tired after driving for a few minutes. That's tension is too high, as you had mentioned on the drop off of the vehicle. So I'll be addressing that as well. Okay, so running down the list, so that's your tune-up items, and there's the adjustment of the spring and linkage. And let's go to the next item, exhaust leak. Now, when I was driving it, I did not hear the exhaust leak out of the bank. I did hear the rattles, as I mentioned on the other video, on the passenger side, but I haven't heard the popping or the tapping noise over here. My recommendation here, because it has headers on it and it has been several years, is to tighten this hardware. It loosens over time, especially when there's no locks or keepers on them. They vibrate out of the heads from the heat expansion. And so I'll run over on, they're really difficult to get to them. You have to use special tools, but I'll go through each one of these ports and lock down this hardware so that it puts as much pressure as is required to keep any exhaust leaks from occurring on both sides of the motor. So that's included here under exhaust leak. I'm going to torque down and do that. So let's see if that doesn't help for noise. And I will be listening for valve noise, but I haven't heard anything as of right now in the motor during the recent road tests. Okay, so continuing down the list. Let's see, where am I? There we are. Okay, so next item was the cooling system, which we discussed about the radiator cap and putting a capture tank. That's all listed there. AC. So I checked the pressure on your lines. There's a little bit of pressure on here, so at least I know the system isn't compromised. If I check these and they're empty and there's no pressure, That means the environment is inside of the system, which requires a lot more repair and parts replacement, because I have to change the filter if there's no pressure. Right now there's pressure, but not too much, so I'm going to connect my gauges and I'm going to test the system. I'm going to check to make sure the clutch engages on the compressor. I'm going to make sure the heater valve closes completely so that cooling occurs on the cooling side of the air conditioning system and not the heating side of your heat system. I'll check the blower. I'll put up my temperature gauge inside of the cabin, and with my gauges on, I'll be able to measure the Freon levels in the system and report back if there's anything that needs to be addressed there. And if I just need to charge the system, I will be adjusting for that on the revised estimate. Okay, so moving down, the next item, road test. These are the results of the road test. You'll be able to read up on that. Nothing that I haven't already discussed. Replacing the starter, and I recommend adding a heat shield blanket to the starter. The reason is, on cars that don't have factory exhaust, the pipe gets very close to the starter down there below, and that pipe gets significantly hot when you're driving, and it causes the starter parts to fail. So putting the it's kind of something that came out about 15 years ago with race cars, is by putting a heat shield wrap blanket around the starter, it isolates it from the heat that's generated from the headers, and it extends the life of your starter so it lasts longer, and you'll get better performance out of it. So replacing the starter, putting a blanket on it, that's listed there for the repairs. And then the first page will have all your parts on it. You'll be able to, when you get your document, you'll see all my parts. And then the last page has the corrosion on the on down here below, where the battery has drained and created this. I will wire wheel this and then paint it so that the corrosion will stop. It's only surface corrosion. It hasn't caused any structural issues, but by stopping it now, you're going to extend the life of the metal. It's not going to continue to rust, and that'll be a good thing there. So I have listed that there as some work. Exhaust system, I had already mentioned on the other video about the bracket being loose and needing more hardware to fasten it to the body. And then you got a fender bolt loose that I will be finding out if it's stripped or if I need to replace the blind nut or just fasten it tighter onto the fender and lock that down so it doesn't fall out. So your total in parts is $965 right now. Labor is $33.97. Your total with tax right now is $44.62.32. So I'll be sending this to you with a link where you can pay securely online. The deposit will request half down so I can get my parts coming and I can have some labor to start working on it. And as I go through and finish and go through the repairs, I'll request additional funding until the project is complete and I can get the vehicle back to you. But you'll be hearing back from me on the status of your cooling system, and anything that's developed as I do these repairs, I can report back if the diagnostic time, like on the pulley, if I need to have some additional time to put some water pumps on there or put a water pump on there, and or anything else I run across. That's where we're at right now. So if you have any questions, of course, just reply to me by phone or text, and we'll get those questions answered, and then I can go ahead and move forward on getting the repairs completed over the next couple of weeks. I'll get parts coming in. The pulley is special order, so it'll take me about 5 days to 7 days to get the part in, and then I can get busy on the rest of the items if it's approved. Okay, well, thanks for watching. This is Manny with Classic Auto Repair. Goodbye.